Hello everyone, Reza here. Welcome to the next video. In this video, we are going to focus on the eyes. We have two main tasks. The first one is to create skin sliding effect to get a more realistic result. And the second one is to set up our controls and tie them to the eye bones. So let's get to work. First things first, I would like to link eyelid upper and lower to the main eye. So when I rotate the main eye, the surrounding points won't stay that rigid. I want them to move as soon as I move the eyes. We can certainly achieve that using a very simple expression. Probably the movement that I would like to get is rotate Z and probably a little bit of rotate Y. So with that in mind, I'm going to put all of my expressions on one bone only. I'm not going to use 4 bones for 4 set of expressions. So rotate Z for the JNT base upper lid will do the trick. I'm going to hold down Control right click to get access to the expression. Another way is to go here to edit and use expression. I think this one is much faster. Now here's my expression window, and if you're selecting a channel on an object, it specifies the channel and the object, and the dot is basically a level in. I'm going to zoom in a little so I get to see the result. Now selecting everything, middle mouse, drag and drop, and then I'm going to make the size a bit bigger. Now let's think about what we're going to do. First things first, I'm going to make this a comment and I'm going to give this a name. So eyelid underscore expr. Now if I press create, nothing happens, but you can see expression is valid because whatever you write here before these two guys will just count it as just a comment. So has no impact on anything. But the reason I'm doing this is because I would like to save sort of my expression. Cool. Now, if I go search by expression name, you can see that name comes up, and that's one of the common questions that I get a lot from my students, because if you were to click away on any object, by default the expression goes away and then you have to find a bone, find the expression again. But with that method, when you just make something as a comment so it won't error out and give it a name, you can actually select multiple bones and have the expression in the expression editor. So that's a really nice trick, and I always recommend it to beginners. We no longer need to make that a comment, so I'm going to make this the comment upper lid. So we have something useful. We're going to have one for upper lid, one for lower lid, and this one is going to be for the left hand side. And of course, another set of comments that I'm going to write here will be for the right hand side. So let's think about it. This bone, which is this bone, will rotate in Z if we move, or rather rotate, this bone right here, which is JNTL. So I'm going to copy the name and paste. It's really important not to have any typos, otherwise the expression won't work. I want this to rotate also, so we're going to say rotate Z, but not as much. So if I rotate the eye bone in 1 unit, I don't want the eyelid to also get rotated 1 unit, probably half a unit. With that, I just need to multiply it, 0.5. Maybe even 0.5 is too much, but let's get that to test and see what we're getting. If I go edit, and now with the eye bone selected, I can rotate, and you can see when I rotate the eye bone, the eyelid also follows, but half a speed. I would say this is even too much, so I'm going to go and reduce it to something like 0.4. This value varies based on the volume, the look of your character, obviously, but it's pretty much the same. Yeah, that's what I like. So this is good. Now I would like to have the same movement in Y. So rotate Y, make sure to use capital Y, otherwise you get an error. And this one probably 0.2. So very subtle, but that little amount is enough to give us a realistic look. So now look, if I go and select the eye bone, rotate, you can see we have a slight movement to left and right. What about up and down? Beautiful. So that's what I'm talking about. This little tiny movement with skin sliding effect that we're getting really adds so much. When you set up your eye controls, this also is going to work. When the eyes are closed, it's still going to work. When the character blinks, it's still going to work. So let's go ahead and set up one for our lower lid. I'm just going to paste, and this one is not going to be upper, but rather lower and left. Now pause the video and try to do this one yourself. Just give yourself, a couple of minutes. Think about how will I be able to repurpose the line that I have and come up with one valid expression for the lower eyelid. And after you come back, I will be showing you the result. Okay, we're back. Hopefully you all got that one right. So I just used the name for this bone, JNT base L lower lid, which is here. We still would like to rotate it in rotate Z when we rotate the eye bone. And we still would like to rotate it in rotate Y when we rotate the eye bone. The only difference is it's going to be minus. Now this is something that you can easily check and see what sort of value you'll be getting, but that should do the trick. I'm just going to go edit. The expression is valid. Now if I go ahead and select the eye bone, E to access the rotate tool, you can see the eyelids are moving beautifully, rather rotating. So cool. All right, I believe you all can now use this and do the exact same thing for the other side. That's not going to be any problem at all. All you need to do is just to switch L to R's and hopefully few changes, and that should work. In the next chapter, we're going to talk about how to set up controls for the eyes. So with the movement that we have, we're just going to link everything to a set of controls. We're moving on to the next video. Now for the eye controls, I tend to approach it quite simply using good old NURBS circle. So create one, holding down D, snap it to the end eye bone, zooming in a little, rotating it in 90 degrees, very straightforward, and we've repeated almost the same steps in character rigging for beginners. If you haven't watched that, make sure to check that out. Holding down D, snapping that to the other side, moving them forward. Also, maybe resize the XYZ to something like 1.4, 1.5. Yeah, that should do the trick. And then I'm going to freeze transform on them, duplicate one of them, and that would be the one that controls both of them. So you can kind of leave that at the center, or you can kind of wrap it around the two. These designs are totally up to you. Now I want this to be preferably at the center, so I'm going to select these two and select the last one and do a really quick point constraint. So it's exactly right at the center. I don't need that point constraint anymore. I can get rid of it. Now that one, I'm just going to change its design really quickly. I really don't want to spend too much time on it. And every time I say it, I spend too much time on it. So let's just, I can probably go to show and hide the joints, and it gives me a clear sort of canvas to work with. And that, and then probably move this one here, that, So I'm going to select everything and press 3 so it looks smoother. Really quickly rename them. Obviously I have translation values on them, so make sure to freeze transform. Now this one is going to be CTRL underscore L I01. I'm going to repurpose the name CTRL RI01, and this is going to be CTRL I01. Cool. So we've already gone through the process. Red for the left hand side, blue for the right hand side, and yellow for the center one. Obviously I'm going to select the two, shift select the main one, and press the P key. Again, double check, make sure there is no values on any of them, and it's good to go. Fantastic. With that, let's bring the joints back. Let's bring the geometry back. Probably I don't need to see the hair geometry for now. And the size looks okay. Now this one is done. The next step is to set up a custom blend control. So we have full control over the rotation of the eye control, whether it follows the jawbone or not. That's going to be really exciting. So let's get to that. Now with that, let's select the main controller and press Ctrl G on it. I'm going to put that into a group, and that group is called CTRL I01 underscore follow. I would probably get rid of 01, say Ctrl I follow 01. Makes sense. Now the pivot for that needs to be at the center of the group. So with the group selected, modify and center its pivot. There is no translation, so I don't need to worry about it, but if there is, you know what to do. Now I want this group to follow the upper jaw. So when I rotate the upper jaw, I want the controller to follow. So we select the driver, which is the upper jaw control, and then control select the driven, which is the group node. Make sure not to select the eye control, but the group node. And then it's just a simple constrain, parent constrain with maintain offset on. Perfect. So when I select the upper jaw and rotate, you can see the eye control follows. Fantastic. Now that's the whole idea. Sometimes I want this control not to follow the upper jaw, or I would like to have a blend so the character turns his or her head but looks on the side. That's sort of the movement that you would like to get, and it's going to be quite exciting. Makes the animators really happy to provide them that extra level of control for the eye controls. So let's see how we can get that one done. And that was the whole reason behind this extra group node, because now the parent constraint has been connected to this group node. I can just Shift W, Shift E to create that blend parent. See that green channel gets created every time you keyframe on top of a constraint, and that color changes to kind of light green. Now with that, we get that blend parent where we can blend between following, not following the upper jaw. Fantastic. All we need to do is to create a simple custom attribute on our eye controls and get them to follow this blend parent. Very simple. So let's get to that. I'm going to select the eye control, and then I'm going to go to modify, add attribute, and I'm just going to name this follow. Simple as that. Minimum of 0, maximum of 1. Okay, so we get that attribute here. Now let's go and tie them together, tie this control to the blend channel via connection editor. So we know where to find connection editor, hopefully. General editor and then connection editor. Well, I would like to have the eye control on the left hand side. So select the eye control, reload to left so I get to see this follow. That's where I want to connect to the blend on the right hand side. If you see a lot of different attributes, you can go to show non-keyable and turn them off. It's something that I did already. If I have it on, you can see it's just a little bit difficult to see what's going on. So I tend to just turn it off, getting to the point. Now for the right hand side, I would like to select the group node, reload to right, and there we have it, the blend parent. With the follow selected, I'm going to select blend parent, and now they're connected. See, the blend parent is now set to 0. This means that it's not going to follow. Every time you have it set to 1, it will follow the jawbone. Let's put that to a test. Now with the blend parent set to 0 and follow set to 0, if I select the jawbone, or jaw control rather, and rotate, not following, right? Now I'm going to select the eye control, set the follow to 1, select the jaw control, it follows. Now the beauty of it is it even blends if you want to create animation. So if I open the jaw and go to the eye control, select the follow, and middle mouse drag to left and right, you can see I can even blend. That makes animators quite happy, to be honest with you. You can see in 3-4 minutes, you just add an extra layer of control over your rig, and that works beautifully. Now with that done, let's actually set up the eye controls themselves and connect them to the eye bones. And we're going to take a look at that in the new chapter. Okay, let's set up our controls. Now in the previous videos in rigging for beginners and intermediate rigging, I showed you various ways of doing this, either through aim constraint or through manual parenting. But this time, since this is facial rigging for beginners, I would like to show you the simplest way possible. One of my favorite ways of setting up controls for the eyes, to be honest. So I'm going to hide the geometry, zooming in. I would like to set up the eye controls not through aim constraint, which is quite common, but through IK handles. So I'm going to select the eyes. I'm going to go to skeleton, create IK handle, option box. You need to make sure rotate plane solver is selected, and I'm going to zoom in, select the eye joint, end of the eye joint to create the IK handle. I'm going to call this IK RP for rotate plane L I01. Probably going to do the same thing for the other side. Click to select the IK handle. I'm going to rename it from L to R. Now from here, you need to make sure that this IK handle follows the movement of the driver through a simple point constraint, and you just need to parent it. Okay, let's do it. I'm going to select the driver, select the driven. I'm going to go to constraint, point constraint. I know that the offset is correct, so it really doesn't matter. I'll leave maintain offset on, apply. And once that's done, select the child, shift select the parent, press the P key. So when I move, you can see the eye follows. How cool is that? Let's do that for the other side. Bring the mesh back and have a look at the result. So I'm going to select the driver, driven, apply, and then child, parent, press the P key. Now what you need to be mindful of, if I bring the controller back, we no longer need these point constraints, so you can go ahead and delete it on both controllers. So I'm going to press F to frame it and get to the point constraint and get rid of it. I'm going to bring the mesh back. I don't need to see this anymore. Now, moment of truth. I'm going to select the control, move this around, and look at that. We managed to create eye controls in no time at all. That's fantastic. Now to clean up, I'm going to select the IK handles, press H on them to hide. select both eye controls. I just need to translate them. So rotation, scale, and visibility. Lock and hide. The main eye control, I want to see translate, rotate X, rotate Z, scale, and visibility. Lock and hide. And the reason I left this rotate Z here, because sometimes you want to do this. I'm not sure if that's something you want to do, but if you have a stylized character, it kind of creates a funny look, cross-eye sort of situation. But if you don't want to, you can go ahead and hide that one as well. All right, fantastic. Let's translate that into the expression that we have and finalize this video. All right, let's finalize the session. I need to add 4 blink attributes on the main eye control. Upper, lower for the left hand side, upper, lower on the right hand side. And I'm going to go ahead and set up for one eye, and you guys can repeat the same steps for the other eye. So with the main eye control selected, I'm going to go to modify, add attribute. I'm going to keep that simple. Upper, L, capital L, add, you can see gets added. Lower underscore L, add, and then you can follow with upper underscore R and lower underscore R. Done. Now I need to select these 4 and connect them to the existing expression that I have produced at the beginning of this video. So let's go to Windows, Animation Editor, Expression Editor. And there we have the eyelid expression. I'm going to zoom in a little. Now I need to concatenate this. We already know that when the eye bone moves, the eyelid follows. We're going to say and, open, close parentheses. We would like to target the eye control and say, well, on top of that, I would like the eye control also to have an impact. What channel? Channels we made. So dot, we're going to start with upper underscore capital L. That should do it. Go edit. Expression is valid. Now if let's do the same thing for the lower lid and put the attributes to a test. Now for the lower lid, of course, we would like to just target the Z channel. So concatenate, put that into a parentheses, followed by the plus, followed by a plus operation, and then close, open parentheses. And all I need to do is to follow this. Actually, I can copy and paste it here. And instead of upper, we're just going to say lower. 1R, edit, expression is valid. Now let's close. Going to zoom in a little and let's put that to test. You can see it's working beautifully. Now, because the eyelid is not going to meet the lower halfway, I need to overshoot this a little so the eye can close. But that's no problem. It's not going to cause any error. It's working. Excellent. So set some time aside and do this for the other eye. And with that, we pretty much finish with this lesson. The only node we need to clean up would be this eye control node. And fair enough, that goes right underneath the controls. So we select the eye controller, the group node, and then select the controls and press the P key to parent, and done. All right, we're pretty much done with this video. Let's move on to the next one where we work on the eyebrows. See you in a bit.